drifting in the open breeze. Suddenly, the wind blows you away from me. Now I see we were never meant to be. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa, right where we belong. Maybe we'll never need a reason why. Whoa, dancing till the dawn. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa, right where we belong. Maybe we'll never need a reason why. Whoa, dancing till the dawn. Born from the same branch and leaves, wild and free, living here in harmony. Don't you see? This is where you want to be. But when you leave, the world is never what it seems. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa, right where we belong. Maybe we'll never need a reason why. Whoa, dancing till the dawn. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa, right where we belong. Maybe we'll never need a reason why. Whoa, dancing till the dawn.
Seeing monsters out your window. No, you can't sleep, you pretend though. You don't have to play the hero.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 3 of Learner Drivers. We're here, and we've got Nualaik back, unfortunately. And Nua, where were you last week? There's a lot to catch up on.
But kind of didn't feel like it.
Well, thankfully, we're in the same place now, as Nua did, of course, miss out on the second UR qualifier, which, of course, 4 teams qualified into, but honestly, maybe not the 4 teams we were expecting. We got a cracking episode ahead of us. We see you there in chat. Feel free to ask questions in advance, although, as you know, we will have Poddy on today, JLT. We'll be talking about the national leagues as well, and so much more. KJ, are we happy to have Nua back?
The hair quality is dipped really this week, but you know, we move.
Okay, yeah. I was about to take offense, and then I thought about it for half a second, and I was like, I can't take offense at that.
Yeah,
That's just
you
true.
can't compete with that. Just like how the rest of you can't compete with anybody named Pads this week. How much do we love that?
I mean, it's kind of true, right?
Honestly,
The
yeah.
100% pads qualification rate on the qualifier. No, that's all you need to add. There's clearly that'll be the entire section here as we update it. But of course, the first teams to qualify through the uppers were Kit and Exeter.
Yeah, I'll admit, I took the week with my internet being down to just not engage with the internet at all. I've read 100 books this year now. I finished that off last week. So, time well spent. My brain has expanded. I am ready to go. On the flip side of that, though, like, I came back and EU Rocket League was on fire once again. And I don't know, Exeter made it through upper bracket. Everyone called pads, as has been noted there. Kind of just wins games. I think, KJ, you were saying off camera, it's time to just start changing players' names. Like, if you're not having luck, you're borderline, it's time to start thinking about just changing one of your in-game names. Just call yourself pads, win a couple of matches.
Honestly, the forms have been sent. UEA's best player is now ePads Maccas. Like, we have a choice for that one.
Is that official? Has he actually changed that? Is he going to do this?
Oh, definitely not. He doesn't listen to me anymore.
Oh, yeah. That's clearly what's going wrong with UEA, but more on UEA later. That could probably take its own section. I kind of want to ask about the fact that you read 100 books in a year. I don't know if they're picture books or like the Hungry Caterpillar sort of thing. Like, how much reading are we talking about here?
Listen, follow me on Storygraph. It's the website I use to track everything, and you can just see what I've read. Storygraph is really fun, all right? Look, we're all gamers here. We all love some stats, okay? And if you get stats for everything, just gamify your life. It makes doing everything easier. I've read some real bad books this year. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Okay. Some really bad books. Jeff Vandermeer, stop writing, man. It's just not good. I don't know how those books got made into a movie. It really upset me. I read the last book in that trilogy just because I needed to prove that it shouldn't have been a trilogy.
All right, well, someone tag Jeff and say that we're sorry about that, but we're not sorry for any of the teams who didn't make it through the first qualifier and by that I mean the second qualifier for UR Winter. Now, of course, those teams didn't make it, but the 4 teams that did, of course, we've already mentioned the 2 teams that made it through Uppers, Kit and Exeter, but also Doran's Doran's second team is probably what we're going to have to call them, maybe the first team now, and of course, Hanover. But let's go through them one by one. All right, KJ. We'll start with Kit. They were the first team to qualify. They came in as 5th seed to the qualifier. I think it's not a huge upset that they qualified, but they looked good doing it, right?
Yeah, they look. I mean, like, how long have Kit been a good team for? You've got 3 really good players there, and you know that when Matei wants to play, then most teams are kind of buggered. I mean, honestly, like, people always underestimate them, and I don't know why, because they always get results. They're really, really good. And, like, honestly, there's not a nicer group of players that you'd wish to actually make it. They're all proper lovely, all really good at the game, and they deserve it every time they do it. And I think, like, qualifying for Uppers, they might prove us wrong again in Winter later on. I can't wait.
And it was SK's birthday as well, right? Like, I mean, nice group of players. All of these clips of SK Birthday Boy featured in them as well. It's just good times all around.
They're just crushing SK's birthday is not a good time. That's mean. That's bad vibes from Kit.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I'll admit that my brain has not turned on fully yet. That was bad, but SK made it through afterwards. Look, I knew it was good in general. It's just that my brain shut off for about 20 seconds there. That's on me.
I mean, to be fair to Kit, they also crushed a lot more dreams on the way. They had a best of 5 against Portsmouth, as you saw a couple clips from it here. They beat them 3-1. They then critically, they beat University Institute of Lisbon in game 5, which was off stream, and that looked like a cracking series, before just sweeping Doran's Nimmer, as we should just call them by their actual name, to actually qualify. Like, Kit, I'll be honest, coming to this year as well, I did expect a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a, decrease, but if they're still one of the first 6 teams to qualify to Europe, have they really decreased at all? Like, it's fantastic for them, I feel.
Why do we underrate Kit? I don't understand.
I asked in week 1. I was like, when do people start betting on them instead of against them? And the answer should have been apparently in qualifier 2.
Yeah. Honestly, I think if Kit want to be rated, they just need to get more toxic and loud on Twitter, because they've got the ability now. It's time to, like, rub it in everyone else's faces. I'd love to see it. Need less niceness from them. They're too good to be nice.
You were just saying they were nice. It's kind of going to ruin it. I mean, the one thing, of course, they have in common with the second team is the sharing of pads that we have mentioned. Maybe we'll have to get pads and pads on at the same time. But, of course, Exeter were the second team to qualify through the uppers, and I'm happy about that. It means we got another UK team into the competition, but it's not really the one that some people were expecting. I mean, you had Roehampton and UEA predicted KJ, which has resulted rather funnily. I had Salford predicted, which has probably ended up even worse. But Exeter, a little bit under the radar. They've been performing domestically, and they performed in the qualifier here.
We love Ban FC, don't we? They're the most controversial team in the UK, and they're the funniest. Like, how great! I swear I was saying last week, like, don't sleep on Exeter. They're actually quality, and it's so funny that they couldn't.
You didn't predict them. You're saying that now.
I didn't predict them, but I did say they did really well. And, you know, retrospectively, I think I was right in some way. My predictions weren't right, but I've backed Exeter for a couple of weeks now, and look at them go. They're actually proper good. Honestly, like, it's so great that they got banned last year. It makes this entire situation funnier. It really does.
It's another EU classic, right? Like, just play really well, qualify 2 or 3 times, and then maybe get banned each time. All right, teams will remain unnamed for that.
Exeter are the new honorary UEA for sure. They're the comedy
honorary
team.
UEA. My goodness.
So
You're already preparing.
They are the content team.
You're coping, ready for UEA to qualify at all. You know, I mean, Exeter's run was a 3-1 over Warwick. A Game 5 win, which I have to say was actually a really entertaining series against OSGG, Osnabrück, who this was their first qualifier they signed up for. And I think, you know, after their sort of underwhelming performance in EURC 2022, we kind of expected them to maybe just sort of decrease in relevancy slowly. But actually, they look better than they've ever looked. They gave Exeter a full run for their money all the way to and through Game 5. And as you saw from the clips, to then beat Hanover to qualify, of course, Dr. Bowman's Academy, Hanover. You guys know that Hanover were up 2-1 in the series, and then they were up 2 goals in Game 4. Exeter then, of course, scored 3 goals, turned it over, and poor System, I'm pretty sure he was trying to play on control at the time. I think he very swiftly switched back to keyboard after that series. There was a couple really painful moments that Exeter were able to capitalize on.
Honestly, like, System changing back has made him so much less washed. Honestly, I don't know why he even changed, to be honest. Like, why would you do that just before, like, probably the biggest uni year of your life? He pulled it back out in the end, like, but I don't know. Watching that series of Exeter, they're just the new comedy team to me now. It was just a complete litany of errors and a hilarious result. I loved the whole way through, I really did.
I'm just happy that we have a team that looks like they can clutch up in Europe. That's like, look, I'll take one, and just to like maybe give teams a taste of the PTSD of, you know, teams beating you when you're ahead in like the back end of a series. Let's get teams ready for it before CRL Worlds this time. Okay, so it's not a surprise when the comeback starts in Game 4, in Game 5, and then the teams just kind of panic and crumble under the pressure. Let's just try and make sure more series like that happen. And Exeter, if they can do it for us, I don't care who does it. If Exeter do it, I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I just like the way it was framed, really, that we have some teams that can clutch up in Europe, implying that there are some that can't or haven't even in the past. I mean, I think it looks good for Hanover regardless. Of course, they didn't have their way in the Exeter series, but to get over the line in qualifier 2, I think there would have been more doubt had it gone to qualifier 3 or 4. But ultimately, you know, they still beat Stuttgart and Aalborg in qualifier 1, and they completely swept Twente in their upper bracket series as well. So props to them. It was a really crazy series that went to it was like a 5-minute Game 4 overtime that Hanover lost against IUL in the lowers, and then it went to Game 5 overtime as well. But Hanover took that. That was a crazy one. I mean, commiserations to Lisbon, really, but I would have felt bad if Hanover didn't make it through qualifier 2. I think it would have been a little bit embarrassing after the sort of entrance they've had.
I mean, they're exciting players. Like, I don't even know how to pronounce it, PZY, but he is built different. Watching him yesterday, like, the guy is a bit of a wizard. I was proper enjoying it. Like, it's nice to have players that good coming around.
I want to standardize calling him PZY now. It sounds like R2D2 or something. Yeah. It's like
my favorite android, PZY.
He'll never forgive us, Psy.
Can't believe, you don't know famous K-pop star Psy playing here, of course, in UR Winter 2022.
That's actually true, actually. It's a very valid point. I will say, of course, that as much as that qualifier was wild, it was kind of just a bit more sad from a seeding perspective. Of course, it was the 2 seed in Hanover made it. The 5 seed in Kit made it, 6th seed in Exeter, and then 16th in Doran's Nimmer. Now, of course, we saw this Doran side sign up. You would assume on paper, without extended knowledge, it might be a B team. No, it's just a second team. Dorans have this much depth, and they went on an absolute rampage. I don't even know what to say. They upset the 1 seed Genoa 3-1. They beat Aarhus, they beat Roehampton, and sure, they got bonked by Kit, but they then went on to win in the lowers over Genoa again, no problem.
Kind of upset that Kit stopped the upper bracket run. I mean, like, of all teams to stop an upper bracket run by, like, a low-seeded team, Kit, that's just, I don't know, a bit cruel. History being a little bit unfair to Darns there.
Honestly, like, would a B team actually be one of the best teams in the UK, considering how much our region is throwing, other than Exeter and Kiel? Like, honestly, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, like, wow, UK doesn't look very good this year, does it? Like, Netherlands choked last year, but it seems like if they can get a reserve team literally clapping people, like, this is their year, isn't it? And we're washed now.
On the bright side, it's the sign-up deadline is beating the Netherlands out, so, you know, like, if nothing else, we do have that going for us.
Yeah, props to Rotterdam on that one. But to be fair, some UK teams had some difficulties as well. For context, of course, it was SK's birthday for Doran's Nimmer, so Sane and Anya have been split apart. I don't know whether that's of their choosing or if this is some sort of, you know, Romeo and Jet tragic sort of love story. Doran's Boxfish did play the first qualifier, but not the second. Of course, Anya, Mark, and Jayron, who, in typical Doran's fashion, as we sort of expected to continue, lost in the qualifying game in the lower bracket. But Doran's Nimmer, Sane, Juice Bear, and SK had no problems whatsoever. And to me, they're just the definition of a dark horse now. Even though that was such an efficient qualification, it feels like we just need to see so much more of them.
Oh god, they're so honestly, it's always really funny seeing teams, the players that didn't get picked for their first team, clapping everybody. How much do we love to see it? Because, you know, like, they've got a point to prove. I can say, you remember when Zortea, Queen Scots, and that absolutely banged us on stream? Like, it's
I mean, which
they're
time?
so much more motivated to batter people when they're not in the first team, because it's just infinitely funnier and infinitely better content every time.
It's something about the European atmosphere, and we've talked about it a couple of times here already. Just that, like, lower seeded teams and underdogs almost have an advantage at times because teams are not necessarily good at winning games that it feels like they should. And I know the conversation last week there was as well about how much do coaches actually do for a team in Rocket League. The idea that it's maybe only 25%. That, you know, the US teams are really getting helped by that. But I think in that 25% definitely is just settling the mental and, you know, helping teams be like, no, we are the better team. Here's what the game plan is. Here's what we should be doing to them. Just go and do it. And in Europe, we see a lot of upsets, and it's always fun to then have a team that are such heavy underdogs to root for who still look really good.
So sad. Sin's stolen my talking point. And now when you know when you were going to say something and then someone else, like,
yeah,
asks you to say it or, like, points it out for you, and it's like, well, now I'm not going to.
Pointed out it won't be Tylacto, it won't be in the YouTube video, so you can just say it now. We'll cut this out of the YouTube video where you highlight the fact that it's been said in Twitch chat, because it has been said in Twitch chat, and we're definitely going to edit the YouTube video to take this part out. YouTube won't hear me say this. The fact that Scenarios has said in chat that they're the first B team in UR since growing in URC 2021.
Yeah.
And we'll cut out where I say it as well.
Okay.
So that it's fine. You that says it first, right?
Okay, so you may have not known this, guys, but the last time a B team made it onto the major European stage was actually Groningen, another Dutch university.
Whoa.
Oh, I know. It was. I think it was
what
the
a great stat.
It was the Martinis and the Mojitos. You know, you wouldn't have known that part, and it was, of course, the Martinis who were meant to be the B team that actually went on to win DSL in that split. But very, very impressive fact. I know. Anyway.
I think there's a whole extra conversation to be had there about, like, whether a martini should be B to a mojito. Like,
that's a valid discussion.
Maybe this isn't the right podcast to have it on. I'm just saying, like, I think we need to raise this question somewhere at some point and talk about the naming scheme of cocktails.
What? We are going to be joined for our next section, the art of throwing, aptly named, because our guest is going to be Poddy of the Kiel Krakens. I do believe he is on the line here, and as much as we do have some prepared questions for him, and it is lovely to be joined by Poddy, as I see he is in the act of being teleported towards us. I wanted to ask that question immediately, Poddy. Do you think it would be better if you had a mojito or a martini? Which one would be the A team or the B team?
The martini would definitely be the A team. Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. We're all in agreement then, I think.
Nah, I think I would have stuck with the mojito. So, like, you know,
Okay,
Poddy,
never mind.
it's nice. Unfortunately, your time here, that was incorrect. See you. Thanks for joining us. Peace.
yeah, unlucky for me, I guess.
That's fair enough. We do have plenty of questions to ask you, Poddy. I mean, it's lovely to be joined here. And, of course, congratulations for qualifying through the first qualifier of just before last week, actually. How did you find it?
I feel like we were a bit surprised, to be honest, because we hadn't played that well for like the month running up to it. Like, we were all on really low hours, to be honest. And then something just clicked like a week before the qualifier. Like, we thought about what we were doing wrong a little bit, spoke about it, and we found like our old form a little bit. So yeah, it was really fun, actually.
I wanted to kind of ask something about that, to specifically follow on from that. How much of an advantage do you think it is early season, and do you think that's going to carry all the way actually to this UR winter event? That you guys are now a long-standing roster compared to some of the teams that are joining this. Is that part of why you felt like the qualifier went as well as it did, and will that continue into main event?
Yeah, to be honest, it's probably quite a big advantage. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we know exactly what we have to do as a 3. Like, we've been doing it for like a year and a half now. And most of the new teams, like, you can tell they're like uncomfortable playing together still. Like, they'll just, like, there's double commits and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's quite a big advantage, but hopefully we can keep it up. I don't know.
Not here.
No,
wanna see
I'm
it.
chilling because I wanted to ask you about the 4 teams that qualified. One of them is very different to the others, it feels like, Poddy. In Hamburg. Now, you got your chance against Berlin, and that, of course, wasn't ideal. But you're one of the top 4 teams. You came into it the season on paper, and you sort of proved it by going through the first qualifier, at least in my eyes. But what are your odds, you feel like, going into this winter season? Because, as you know, if you were to win UR Winter, you would book that ticket back to CRL World immediately, right? But you know if you're going to do that, you're going to have to beat the likes of Hamburg. And how does that feel in terms of, like, achievability at the moment?
I think we've got a chance. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, Hamburg's obviously really strong. Like they've got like 5 insane players basically. But you know, we go into any series thinking we've got a chance. If we play well enough, I know we can compete with anyone. So we'll just have to see how it goes if we do play them.
Do you want to explain what was going on in NSC on Tuesday? I just happened to. I literally was just going through tabs randomly here, Poddy, and I just accidentally fell on the NSC tab. Just as a reminder, you might have blotted it out from your memory. So you beat Untouchables, which is great, but then lost to Southampton in Game 5. I understand that K3 wasn't around, if I'm not mistaken, but then you lost 3-1 to Swansea Storm. Are we going to talk about that?
I'd rather not. I mean, we had a sub and then we got reverse swept in round 2. Actually, we were 2-0 up, so it was even worse. So you can imagine, like, afterwards, like, the mental wasn't that good for round 3. Like, yeah, it was just a bad day, to be honest.
I gotta tell you, Poddy, the correct answer according to Twitch chat was actually Swansea are one of the best teams in the UK, and just big up the other team, and then you look good by comparison. That's how you get Twitch chat on your side.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, they were strong teams. Like, yeah, they deserved to beat us. They played better than we did. Like, we were all over the place. So yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, on the topic of
the
UK teams. Oh, sorry, Steve.
No, please.
Like, now that you know, Salford's bubble have burst a little bit, and Roehampton aren't impressing so much. Who are your, like, let's say, top 4 UK teams, or top 3 without including yourselves, of course?
So for a top 3, obviously Salford's kind of disbanded now. So I'd probably say it's like Roehampton, UEA, and Exeter, probably. I'd still put UEA in. I know they've had like some shaky results, but I think that they've got the potential as a roster. Like, all 3 of them are solid players. Exeter obviously qualified, so they look great, and then I think Roehampton have a lot more potential than what they've shown so far. I think once they figure out what to do as a 3, they'll be like quite a strong team.
I just want to say at the stream, I didn't pay him to say that about UEA. I swear.
I'm
Wow.
mates with that man, so I've got to be nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
Honestly,
I
the
know she didn't
KJ
mention
the KJ character arc this like season on the podcast of just like, does he love or hate UEA? I think is probably our most will they won't they relationship, and it's just an awful lot of fun. I'm looking forward to see where the writing goes with it.
Honestly, like I'm just waiting for Ant-Man to like burst into my house at any point and weigh me in.
There he is, true. Like, actual Two-Face, but you haven't mentioned full roster UWE, Poddy. Is that a deliberate omission?
To be honest, I just haven't seen them play enough. I watched one of their series, I think in the last qualifier. They might have been against Roehampton, actually. And they do look good. Like, Seb still looks so good, to be honest. He looks, like, really solid. But I think, like, the other two are, like, quite inexperienced. I think if they had a bit more experience, I would actually back them to qualify for UR Winter, even. So I'll have to see how it goes with them. But, yeah, they looked quite good, actually.
Oh, that's fair. I think the only other UK team I would have thought might have been in the mix or discussion was Warwick, but I noticed that in your sandbagging, you've now decided that you're going to run into them first fixture tomorrow in NSC, just because you really don't like them. I feel like I should ask on their behalf. They haven't asked me to ask this, but do you have something against Warwick? Like, what actually is it? Like, seriously, why do you play them so much?
Honestly, I have no idea. I actually feel kind of bad about it because, like...
They need the points.
Yeah, they
as
actually
well.
need the points, and we keep on like last time there was nothing we could do about it. Like our seeds like been ruined now, but yeah, I feel kind of bad. I can't lie, but I mean, to be honest, they nearly beat us last time. They took us to game 5 and it went all the way. So like they should believe that they can actually beat us a bit more. I think.
No, fair enough. Do you think Williams' resolve should assign you instead then?
No, definitely not. I can't say that.
Wow, I got a good question from a Warwick Resolve player here, actually, that was submitted just for you, Poddy. Now, it's from Treefork, and it's a very straight-up question. It's, how are you balancing RLCS coaching, collegiate Rocket League, university, and life, if you have one outside of Rocket League? Are you having to make sacrifices, or are you simply built different, was the question.
Okay, so to be honest, like the main thing that I've sacrificed out of all those different things is like playing time, playing Rocket League. Because I'd say last year I was probably playing like between like 40 and 60 hours every 2 weeks, something like that. And when you think about it, now I'm playing like probably 15 or 20 hours. So all those hours like easily make up for everything else. Like the amount of time people put into Rocket League and have to put in. Yeah, like for example, the coaching, like we have big breaks. Like we just finished the full split, so we've had like nearly a month without any scrims now. So I've been able to focus on like uni work, for example. So yeah, I don't know. I think like yeah, I just there's enough hours in the day for it all. To be honest, if you manage your time well, it's not too bad.
Honestly, it brings me on to a question that I always like to ask. Like, what do you think the peak amount of hours in the past 2 weeks is? Because you always get a different answer. I want to know what yours is.
What, like where I play my best?
Yeah.
For me, if I'm to improve, I think I need like 70. To be honest, like when I've improved in the past, it's been around there. But I feel like I've played the game for so long because I've played the game since it came out on PS4. If I'm on like 15, 20 hours and I play maybe the day before a tournament, I still play fine now. Like my mechanics won't be too bad, so I'm kind of lucky, I guess, in that respect.
Interesting.
It's interesting that you think it's so many less out. Like that's such a big delta between like the level you need to maintain performance versus like literally needing to triple the errors to start to improve again.
Yeah, I think that is honestly just the way it is. Like I feel like with Rocket League, a lot of players will probably understand this, where you can put in a certain number of hours and you feel like you're just not jumping a level. Like you might improve slightly, but not a good amount. But to like jump up a level and really see improvement, I think, yeah, you need to have like really high hours. I think for most people, unless you're just really talented, I guess.
How many of Keel on the roster right now in terms of like K3 and Dues, their situations right now, how much time do they have to put in hours really and scrim together with you? And that's my question, because I thought last Sunday, I thought Dues looked really good.
I don't know how. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know how he looks so good. Like, we came back after the summer, and Dues was on, I think, like 45 minutes past 2. And that's the first time I'd seen someone like that's good at the game like on that low like minutes, and not even hours. So yeah, but then like I said, we weren't playing good for like a month. Like we were still doing well in scrims somehow, but in like NSE and stuff, we felt like horrible. And then yeah, like tried to get our hours up just a little bit, and it's like all clicked, thankfully. And then K3 is just playing a lot of Valorant. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he's playing the game that much. He's playing a bit, but yeah.
What characters do you play? I haven't played Valorant since beta.
I honestly have no idea. I don't actually know. I'm not sure who he mains. But he's been playing for the uni as well, on one of the teams.
Oh.
So because obviously he's got so much time, third year, that he can just play Valorant and Rocket League. It's great for him. So yeah.
I was gonna say earlier, there's that classic like triangle of like work, study, sleep, and like free time. And I think Rocket League's up that to like a pentagram for some of these players.
Yeah.
They're just sacrificing their 20s on, where there's like 2 extra points of like you were saying the coaching stuff, the fact that there is then having to actually just grind the game yourself. Like there's just so many extras to balance then.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's in light of that I want to ask you, like, how confident are you in general with it still being 6 spots again this year? A lot of people look at you as the main hope for the UK to make sure we still have a team at the World Championship, because as well as that, what would it mean for you to make it back? Like, what are some of your highlights from last summer? Like, so much to ask about that as well.
Honestly, like I'd really like to make it back. I think the way it ended as well last time was just like horrible. So like, but I remember like the winning feeling on stage was like one of the best feelings I've ever had. So I want to try and get back there, and I feel like we made some mistakes last time that if we went again we wouldn't make the same mistakes. Like we got that experience. So yeah, I really want to make it back, and hopefully we can.
Oh, no, that's good. I mean, I think ultimately, as it stands right now, you are still one of the only players of 3 really to win a series against international competition on LAN for European universities. So it still counts even if bad events happened afterwards. How confident are you're going to make it this year, though? I want like a percentage on how confident you are.
It's a lot lower than last year, that's for sure. I think maybe like last year, I'm not going to lie, I was like 90% confident.
Wow.
Because I knew the teams after Berlin and Portsmouth, I thought we should be beating all of them. But this year, there's so many good teams. I think maybe like 60%, maybe 70 at a push. I still think we're strong. Like there is definitely obviously really strong teams, but I still think we're like in the mix.
I think that's about right. That is, I think, roughly where I sit as well. I'm glad we're in agreement.
I have a different question. Like, who tilts the most out of your team? I think I know the answer, but I want to know. I want you to say.
Okay, okay against UEA. It's definitely K3. He hates playing UEA. But like I don't know, like. Deuce probably has the best mental on the team, honestly. I think I get a bit frustrated sometimes. I don't know why. Like I normally stay pretty calm, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like me and K3 probably. Yeah, probably the worst.
Can I kind of combine those 2 questions then a little bit? Because we've talked plenty here about how there might be a choke problem at times in Europe, where not even choking, but teams struggle against underdogs, because when the pressure is on to actually pick up wins against a team that you should be beating, teams don't necessarily do that. With the fact that you kind of think there might be teams that are better than you, how do you guys feel about your ability to perform as underdogs? Do you prefer that situation? Do you prefer the underdog position? Or do you feel like, okay, if there's a team we should beat, like we're capable of just pulling it together and doing it?
Honestly, I don't really like the underdog situation that much. I think for us specifically, how we play, I feel like the teams we should beat, unless it's UEA, the other teams that we should beat.
I don't know if you should beat them anymore. The track record is
I don't know what happens when we play them, but anyway, like other teams generally, like 99% of teams that we think we're better than, we normally beat them quite convincingly. Like I feel like we can kind of outspeed teams a lot with our playstyle, and we just have like good synergy. But yeah, I don't know. Like the tougher teams is definitely harder for me. I think like playing Berlin and like Hamburg this year, for example. Like mentally, you've got to get over like that hill of knowing they're probably better than you individually as a 3. I feel like that's the harder thing for us.
Right. No, that's fair. I mean, it's ultimately, I think as well with the World Championship, of course, Ethan joining you. This is an interesting question that we got from GM667. He asked, what is your opinion on Uni Rocket League teams such as Roehampton having a coach, and how much do you think coaching will improve them? Now, this is his words. He says, how much more effective do you think an actual coach will be as opposed to a glorified cheerleader? Okay,
so as far as coaching with the uni scene, I think some teams it could help. Like Roehampton, I actually think it could help for them to figure out like a good way to play, and they're putting in the time as well to take advantage of a coach properly. Like I do think it depends a lot on the team and the coach though. But I think a lot of the uni teams, like the main thing is just a coach to help them with the mental side more. Because I think a lot of them, I'm not gonna lie, when you watch some teams, you can see that they're feeling the pressure a lot in tournaments, like in the qualifiers. Even watching some teams, I've seen like some of the strong players even that have maybe a little bit less experience though, and they do look panicky a bit. And I think a coach could definitely help those sort of teams as well. Yeah.
Great.
Take that as validation, is what I said earlier. Paddy, I'm fully on board with you. We had Raz on last week, and Raz said that he thinks in the CRL side of things, like it's kind of 75% just you need good players in Collegiate Rocket League, and 25% then is the coach, was his split. I don't know if you feel similar about that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I mean, like for us, for example, like, and this isn't like to badmouth Ethan or anything, I think he helped us mentally at Worlds a lot. But in terms of play style, like, as soon as me, K3 and Deuce played together, like it instantly clicked. We didn't try and like make a play style or anything. That's just what naturally happened based on what we were all good at. So then some teams will be like that, and some teams will need to work at it a bit more. So yeah, I think it's just different teams, different coaches. But I don't think it can definitely help though.
Well, that's kind of perfect because it already half answers the question that Awesome asked for you, Poddy. It was, how important is team chemistry / having a stable roster, or is individual skill still by far the most important thing at university level? That was also like with regards to the fact that this is his second year in a row for you at Kiel having the exact same roster.
Yeah, I think the way to be honest, the way I see it is up to a certain point you need the skill, like the 3 players. But then I think with Uni RL, at least in Europe, it might be different in America when you've got like full pro teams. But in Europe, I think if you get to that certain point, then like team play and synergy and how you rotate and all that sort of stuff plays such a big factor then. I mean, we've shown it, like we've beaten teams over the years that were a lot better than us on paper. And yeah, like even Hamburg last season probably were better on paper than us. But I knew going into it we play better as a 3, have a better play style, so yeah.
It's true. It's true. Have you looked much about the North American teams this season, or you don't want to get ahead of yourself?
No, I haven't looked. I know that there's a college that picked up like a full pro team, but I've heard like things about them wanting to leave and stuff. I know there's a bit of controversy going on. But no, honestly, like we'll just be focused on the European teams and what we need to do to get there again, and then we'll look at that after.
All right. I mean, I don't know if you've got anything you still want to ask Poddy, Nua, or KJ, but I was just going to thank you really for joining us here, Poddy. I don't know if there's anything left that you want to get off your chest or anything you want to ask us. It's been lovely to have you on.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Thanks a lot for having me. I just wanted to say good luck to all the teams competing, really, and have fun with it. And good luck to anyone that makes Worlds. Hopefully they smash it and we do a bit better than last year.
Well,
Want to slander
sure-
Williams one more
yeah.
time before you go as well?
No.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Poddy. And of course, if you do make it to Worlds again, I will love to see you there. And it won't be as painful as last time, hopefully. So,
Yeah, hopefully not. Okay, thanks for having me, guys.
all right. That was Poddy from the Kiel Krakens. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look to move on and update you about... I'm actually getting a message in my ear. Apparently, we have got an emergency, so we're going to have to go to our first emergency responder. Apparently, there's an update, but I don't know what for.
Birmingham had a 10-point week. Manchester were
Sorry, seems like someone must have infiltrated the broadcast, but we are going to be able to move on to the national leagues. Of course, where better to start, I think, than NSE, guys. And you've got something to say about UEA, KJ. It was a great week for them, right? Great week.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's not every team can beat the behemoths of Cardiff. They're massive. They're brilliant. Everyone knows they'll definitely qualify for Worlds. So let's not talk about that and how shameful it was. Yeah, we've dropped off. I never lost to Cardiff. I can say that. My career is gone, and that never happened. So retrospectively, I think I look quite good, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, not a great week for UEA. Honestly, quite a free 10-point week for them if they actually turned up, but it happens. What about...
Really, I don't know. This is really bad for UEA's situation, right? I don't know if we have the standings and can bring them up, but that is a pain for UEA. As I can read the standings. In fact, there was only 2 teams that are now sat at a 2 10-point week double, and it's Roehampton who continue to be very strong domestically, and of course Exeter. But UEA, they've slipped. Let's put it that way.
Can we just say well done to Southampton? Like, honestly, I used to clap Southampton every time I play them, and now I'm not in the scene. Look at them thrive. They can thank me later. My PayPal is open. Like, well done, Southampton. For getting rid of me.
With all due respect, I'd love to give credit to Southampton where credit is due. I am a fan of Southampton, but they beat Kiel with a sub, which, you know, maybe that's good things to come. Kit did that, and they're doing pretty well now. And then their last game was against the Cardiff. Now, of course, Cardiff are also a dangerous team for some who are named UEA, but Southampton managed to sweep them no problem.
I mean, Southampton are just built different. They're all really nice. Like, there's Tom, I know he's a fellow Norwich guy, so, you know, we've built different with our 6 fingers. He's obviously popping off right now. Like, it's for some reason, like, Welsh teams popped off this week, didn't they? Finchy, our broadcaster's probably grinning his head off, but yeah, fair play to him.
There is one team that I feel like we've already talked about, but I don't know why. Birmingham, I'm seeing they got a 10-point week, Noah. I mean,
Yeah.
were they ever really on the radar for you coming out of the UK this year? Because I don't think anyone really. Are you gonna say you were looking at them this whole time?
Oh, I mean, yeah, no, obviously I'm going to say that. It's not true. And I, like, honestly, as you say, Birmingham looking great. It would have been great if we had someone that we could call on who had a bit of expertise on the team, who could maybe come on and talk about them. Unfortunately, can't find anyone at any point. We'll continue to work on that. Maybe one week we will get someone. It is impressive. Birmingham are, as you say, kind of coming up out of nowhere. A 10-point week, a 7-point, like, on top of that, the 7-point week before that, it's consistency. You know, sitting third in the standings. It's not just, hey, they had a great week and now they're sitting up there. We'll see if it continues, right? Like, I think we've talked about it with Kiel specifically back in week 1, and we said, yeah, they've had a shaky start to NSE, but as long as they make playoffs, I have trust in them. Birmingham, I'm kind of still feeling the opposite on a little bit. I'm like, yeah, they're looking good to make playoffs. I'm going to withhold judgment until I see how they do there.
There's a couple less fortunate teams other than UEA, of course, in the sense that Salford, you can expect one of them playoff spots to like open up, guys, right? Because as far as we know, really sad, of course, decision. You've probably seen the tweet if you're watching this broadcast, but Cood is stepping down from University Rocket League, and I do worry that the entire Salford team may be likewise, which is never really how you like to see a team's arc end, but until things are confirmed and for sure, then I guess we'll just have to hope, wait and see. Loughborough suffered a bit of a drop-off. They started with a great 7-point week. You now see them suffering with 4. They lost their first game in a game 5 to York, who are probably one of the hardest teams to predict. They're not even in the top 16. We might actually have below the top 16 if we want to look there. I mean, I don't know where York even end up. It looks to me that they're in 20th. 2 points followed by a 7-point, and I don't know. I don't even know if are York worth talking about, guys, given that it's a random coin toss whether Smash is actually going to show up and be bothered to play whenever they have a game.
I mean, like, I was up at 1:30 on Saturday, and I played against Lady P in 2s ranked. And, you know, the conversation was go as well. I was like, so how do you think York will do? And all he put was despairing at Smash. And then he left the lobby and was like, okay, sums York up. It really just relies on whether Smash wants to turn up or not. Because when he does, they're actually really good. Obviously, since he's one of the best teams in the scene. Like, best players in the scene even. But, like, I don't know. It seems like he's a little bit unreliable, I suppose. A little bit like Salford right now, but it happens.
It's great because that quote works out of context as a summary for the fighting game community too. Just despairing at Smash.
That was a decent one. And I'm looking at this league table, and you look at like 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Like, they all used to be kind of like the big boys of NSC, and now look at them. They're in the mud. What has happened to the UK scene?
It is weird.
It's really,
we need
really
it to be translated, you know, into like European success as well. I don't know what's going on with Lancaster. I refuse to let myself get too excited. But I mean, in the light of Birmingham is a perfect example. They're 4th in the UK right now, but they just can't. It's a different level, I feel like, competing in Europe in terms of the expectation and pressure. I mean, they've had okay showings in the qualifiers, but it just hasn't really been up to par with the performances I feel like they've been putting in domestically. And as much as that probably sounds harsh, you know, there's limited times, limited occasions. Literally, they've only got 2 qualifiers left. I'm not saying they should be expected to qualify, but you really want to see them get to them later rounds. They lost a best of 3 this past Thursday, of course, to OSGG in the upper bracket. That was critical. They managed to beat Sapienza Roma in the lowers in a best of 3, but they were then eliminated, of course, by the far more experienced Portsmouth Paladins, 3-1 in the lower bracket.
I'm glad you've mentioned Portsmouth there, because we kind of talked in week 1 about that trinity of Kiel, Portsmouth, Salford, and like 2 of the 3 have kind of fallen. Kiel are still there, but they're not really showing up domestically at the moment, and those 3 pushing each other for so long kind of helped with the international performances for the UK then, right? Like, the domestic competition at the top end was so strong. We asked the question in week 1, you know, is that the best 3? Is that the best top 3 that the UK will see? We said, hope not. But, like, at the moment, it's not looking promising for at least this winter to catch up. Like, maybe Roehampton, Exeter, and Kiel end up pushing each other, and we have a new big 3 floating around in the UK scene. But, like, I don't know, as you say, just outside that top 3, it doesn't feel like there's much of a chase going on to really push people at the top at the moment.
Yeah, definitely not. I mean, it's still all up to play for, though. And I do think, like, people don't care as much about NSC anymore. Since there's been so much money in the European scene, like, you know that, like, the good teams, especially Kiel after qualifying, they're probably turning up like, oh, I have to do this. Like, this is really long. I'm guaranteed you feel like that too. It's just...
I love that we've waited until after we had Paddy on to like just assume that he's no longer putting any effort into NSE. Could have asked. We could have asked.
The results say enough for Kiwi. It's fair enough. You can see the teams that are motivated and want it and are still of the top quality in Roehampton and Exeter. I don't think UEA could really have earned the ego yet to sort of bin off NSE to the extent that they're now in 10th, but we'll have to see. You know, just like Poddy said in chat, I do feel like NSE is your Tuesday night scrims, but they're Tuesday night scrims with stakes, and it's always nice to see the results come out of it because of that. As we've got a few more major national leagues to get round, as we're going to have to do a quick grand tour of sorts. I think it makes sense we go to probably Uniliga next. Of course, the German league is still in early days. I don't even know if we bothered to get the standings of it because they've only really played 1 or 2 series max per team, but I can say there's no real major upsets so far. You know, playing the lower level opposition, I think it's fair to say the depth does drop off quite fast in Germany. I'm sure no one will take offense to me saying that. Berlin, Hamburg, Hanover, Kitt, Osnabrück, Stuttgart, all still unbeaten.
Teams.
I mean, it's a bit like who knows anyone other than them 6 in out of us 3? I challenge you to name one.
I mean, Dusseldorf, obviously, the big question is what's going to happen after sort of the Monolith limbo moved on. Of course, Iber back with the team alongside Tommy and Sensei. It's still an okay roster on paper. I don't think it's going to really be such a European mainstay as it once was. I will note that they did lose to Dortmund, of course. That is the Dortmund who have lost system to Hanover. It's still Trizultan and Repi. And so there are some nice sort of middle of the pack teams that are trying to push for Europe. Dortmund have been playing in the qualifiers, and also Regensburger, the Regensburger Rockets, but they just haven't had the luck. And OVGU, don't even get me started on OVGU. Like, it's just pain, really. It is. Not only are they crumbling in Europe, but they've gone 0-2 at the start of Uniliga League play as well. Like, it's just a sad time for them. It really is.
I remember when they were good, and you'd be scared to play against them. Like, what has happened over there? What's burst their bubble?
I don't know. It's still Ladle and Mr. Groney, and even A7's been on that roster for some time. It's just so sad, really. It just, some teams are, they lose most of the games, and that's completely fine. But it feels like with OVGU, it hurts when that happens because they've got that sort of expectation still on them.
They've got really good players. I don't know what they're doing, really. Like, come on, lads, pick it up.
UEA moment.
Yeah, like I guess they're the UEAs of Germany, are they?
I wanted to just highlight Berlin just real quick because for week 1 again, none of us put them making it through that first qualifier. I think we kind of got overexcited at the possible demise of Berlin. We were kind of like,
whoa!
Wait,
did you Berlin? I had Berlin going through.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I got 3 out of 4 correct.
All right, I'm going to choose to believe that's a lie, and nobody can check the tapes. So I'm just going to keep making my point anyway, as if it is. No, look, it's not a lie, but I wasn't ready to back Berlin. KJ wasn't ready to back Berlin. We both got less predictions correct anyway, but look, they're still a really good team. Like, they're still performing well domestically, and I think I was ready. In a week when I specifically said I back teams that are mostly the same roster and that have experience together, I still didn't back Berlin to make it through that qualifier. And I want to just hold my hands up and say, oh yeah, no, Berlin are still really good, and we still need to think of them as one of the top teams in Europe.
I remember saying on that episode, so long as Nagflow and Tigre are absolutely screaming at Hyrule every day at being free play and training, that they're going to do well. I mean, look what's happened. Obviously, Hyrule is traumatized in a corner, forced to play Rocket League 10 hours a day because they're teaching right now. You do love to see it.
He's hitting that 70 hours a week mark, the potty called.
He is. Non-consensually.
For 70 hours a month, 70 hours a week would be a lot of Rocket League.
Oh dear. I mean, we've got another guest coming on from the region that I think we'll move on to next, but it's also still in early days. It's DSL, of course, the Dutch Student League. Some of their teams haven't even managed to play their first game yet, although I do believe Liquipedia hasn't been fully updated yet. For me, in terms of the Dutch teams that stand out, I mean, they have split the 2 Doran's teams apart, one in each group, so they can't get at each other just yet. But of course, you've got Amsterdam, Twente, the 2 Doran's teams, and Erasmus. There's still Groningen and Avans as well, who I will note out as being rather notably competent, as reasons we'll get onto later. But I don't know if there's any other teams that stand out for you. For me, the slight demise of Tilburg is a little bit sad. They still have Smickelbear, but with Marbs and Boogies, it's not quite the same. Tom has left, and now Tom is with Avans, and it can be a bit of a headache trying to keep track of all of these at the same time, granted.
I mean, Tom, in my opinion, was their best player as well, and probably the funniest. So, without them, without him in the team, I just don't care. They're washed, in my opinion. We're just gonna keep focusing on how funny it is that Doran's B has ousted every one of them except for Amsterdam at this point. It does kind of, doesn't it feel like it's time for the Dutch to actually start being in control of Europe? I feel like, I don't know, the UK is boring now, Germany is same old, same old. I think it's their time.
I'd settle for the Dutch taking control of their own destiny before they take control of Europe, because it has felt like for far too long their good teams have just kind of like let things happen to them. And like, if they can actually just start winning the series they're meant to win, I'm on board with that before anything else.
Yeah. Avanza kind of weird, of course, with Tom and Jorin, I think it is, who I think both of them coming across from Tilburg. They, of course, have looked good in DSL thus far. They were playing, of course, the qualifier last Thursday. They beat Stuttgart, which is really good in terms of trying to beat out your similarly graded German opposition. I think they were like consecutive seeds, so it's a big best of 3 for them to win 2-0. They got a game off Hanover before going down. But in the lower bracket, they were taken out by Aarhus, which, you know, that's why I can't really be sold on Avans yet. And I think that's the problem with a lot of these Dutch teams, is it just feels like in terms of consistency, Amsterdam are going to be a level above the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, player quality wise as well, Amsterdam are a bit built different, aren't they? In my opinion, anyway.
I mean, it's impossible to know about Dorans in comparison. Maybe we will treat Dorans with the same respect, but also which Dorans? I mean, clearly Nimmer rather than Boxfish, but it is kind of strange. But it's okay. We have BSL as well, DSL and BSL. BSL being the Belgium Student League, which I thought this year, guys, VUB would be losing LXS, but no, it seems like he is still there. So it's still the Bram LXS duo alongside Absolute Zero. Feels like VUB may still be the strongest contender, but I know we had an entertaining series last Tuesday between Ghent and EHB, who were very strong, actually, surprisingly, and took them to Game 5. Yet they still lost both of their series, so I don't know how it feels. Do you guys have a lot of faith for Belgium this year? I think I'm struggling to have a significant amount of belief.
I still do think like any team with Bram like can pop off because he's just a really good player. I mean, LXS as well, them two on the same team is good, but quality has gone up, their quality has gone down. They didn't do it last season. I can't see them doing it again. Unless, honestly, like, Bram starts putting in ungodly hours and becomes a very good bubble player again, like, I can't see it happening, in my opinion.
And even then, I think we've talked so much about how, like, yeah, we rate player quality at the moment in Europe, but, like, also you probably need 3 good players and synergy to be at the top of Europe. So, like, if your entire game plan coming in now is we have one good player or one who's really competing at the top level and we're just going to hope, like, it's kind of worked for a couple of teams last year. It's going to be harder, I think, for it to work for teams this year. And I'm not sure I trust it. And it's hard to look at the Belgian league as a result and say, like, yeah, these guys are going to impact at the top level.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to interrupt you, KJ, because I feel like we've got the perfect person to talk about DSL and maybe BSL as well. Because, I mean, you can introduce our well-renowned next guest, KJ. How about that?
I mean, it's JLT, the man who is on the strongest roster in Netherlands now. Look at him go.
That's
does
quite a
it-
statement.
Well, yeah.
Strongest roster in Netherlands. JLT. Would you agree with that statement?
Definitely.
What we want to hear, mate. That's really what we...
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, at the moment.
You got to live your truth, you know? Like, I mean, just know your place. And if your place is at the top, just let them know.
Well, like, I honestly think there's a level between you and Dorans, to be honest. I would stand up and say that. But, like, what do you think in terms of your competition? How far ahead do you think you are?
Well, there is a little bit of a gap, but I do think if the teams sort out their chemistry, because what I know about Dorans is they just split up into 2, like, kind of first teams, and now there's not really chemistry, maybe. But if they fix that, they could definitely beat. And the other teams as well, I feel like they're all good enough to really make a dent. We saw it with Twente in our national league. They actually took a game off us as well. And, well, it was a hard-fought victory in the end anyway. Like, they're all good enough.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for the Netherlands in general this season after, you know, last season was a little bit tumultuous at times. I mean, talk us through sort of your last campaign alongside Cactic, Local Banana, and sort of the transition to this year with yourself, Devsy, Vency, Cass, you know, this hugely stacked roster. Tell us about last season and the transition to this year.
Yeah, last season we didn't really end very well at all. Definitely in EURC as well as DSL. We choked both of them. No ice at all. But we kind of stayed positive. Banana moved for half a year for a minor to America, and I haven't really. Well, I spoke to Cactic a lot, but he hasn't really been active anymore. But in other news, we heard that Venti was studying at Amsterdam all along, which somehow he got confused and thought we were at a different uni. Well, there was two new young guns, Devsy and Cass, both first-year students at our uni, and well, they all came in contact with me, well, through Jordan first, and yeah, very promising. They're all piece by piece insane players, so.
I love collegiate esports because, like, half the time the reasons for teams disbanding or like just not forming in the first place are just the dumbest thing. Like, just genuinely not being able to be like, we are studying at the same place, or just like, yeah, you know, just this guy wanted to go drinking every Tuesday, and so we can't commit to games. Like, it's just fun. I love collegiate esports, man.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be the most conflicting moment when it's like, yes, I'm so happy we have Venti here at the university, but he was here the whole time. It's just a little bit frustrating. I mean, I guess frustrating. I'm sorry to bring up last season, of course. The way he did go out. I mean, do you have anything to say to your opponents at the time? That game 7 against a particular UEA Blue Jays JLT. I mean,
yeah, that was really painful because I felt like we were the better team that whole series, and we just couldn't finish it off at all. And congrats to UEA, like they definitely held their ground on defensive rotation, which was our biggest issue was just defensive rotation the whole season round, and well, they didn't have that issue, so we didn't score enough. They countered well.
I can tell you, after that series, we did have 0 defensive rotations, so I think we used it for less on you. So, I'm sorry about that one, mate.
Nah, that's all good.
I feel like there's a theme. There's a theme with guests coming on and being like, "Yeah, honestly, KJ, we were better than you. How did you beat us?"
I mean, to be fair, yeah, no, I just think it's funny, really, having the whole lack of defensive rotation. Given the fact that Eclat didn't have a break button, but that is a story for another time. I want to congratulate you for qualifying through the literal first qualifier possible. What do you make of the other sort of top Armresta competition in Europe this season, JLT? Is there any teams that stand out to you or don't stand out to you?
Well, part of the from the obvious Hamburg roster, especially since they didn't even play with their main roster in the first qualifier, and even though we took a game off of them, I definitely felt like it was okay. Wow, this is a whole another pace, of course. Especially Nex was crazy fast the whole time, and just the pressure in general was, well, different than what we had experienced. All our scrims before that, all our games before that, we had dominated kind of, or at least we didn't have really big issues anywhere. And then all of a sudden you're locked in defense, which is, well, something to get used to. But other than that, I feel like I haven't played or seen Berlin, so I don't know about them that much. They made it, so I guess they're doing well. Kiel, I think we can take. I don't know, if they have a good day, they have great chemistry, so always a challenge, but I'm positive we can take them. Surprising teams, I feel like could be, well, we scrimmed Exeter yesterday, and we didn't scrim with Venti, but me, Kaus, and Devsy are kind of a backup roster as well, because Venti's a busy man. And Exeter really went to work on us. We did not have a great time. So they look really good. So I'm excited for them. Other than that, oh, you asked what I was disappointed about or what I was surprised about?
Just any teams that you might not have might not have been so hot on. I think it's just interesting that you brought up Exeter, given the fact that Winter, of course, is the Swiss format, and there always might be them teams that you'd rather get or want to avoid. I don't know how you feel about that. Same as an RLCS regional. Yeah.
Well, the one team we had trouble against scrimming with main roster as well was Aalborg with well, Pondex, and they played really well against us. We struggled, and I haven't seen much of them in the qualifiers up until now. I'm kind of confused as to why and how. because they were playing really well when we scrimmed.
They're actually not just Rocket League players, but they're also semi-professional throw artists as well, JLT, I'm afraid.
Of course, same as us, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's question, me, at least. That's me.
The question that was asked from Awesome, both for Poddy and for you, especially in the light of the fact that it is a significant roster change around you heading into this year, is how important you feel team chemistry is, or having a stable roster, or whether individual skill is, by far still the most important thing at university level.
At university level, it still balances out, I feel like. Having someone like Vency in your team really elevates the team, even though there might not be as much chemistry as to begin with, because to certain teams it's just too much to handle. Same goes for, I think, Berlin, with having, well, maybe now better chemistry, but before this with Quint, I feel like they just relied on Tigray and Knackflow a lot. But I do think chemistry is very important. That's why this year I was adamant, and the guys agreed, luckily, that we scrimmed beforehand, before Qualifier 1. Like, we scrimmed enough to at least build up something, because just on pure going in with 3 skilled guys wouldn't have been enough, I feel like. Especially against teams like Hanover and also Pesto. Like, they're good teams. If you don't have okay chemistry, you're gonna just lose.
And do you guys feel like at the moment then, you've scrimmed a little bit already, you're qualified through the first qualifier, what do you feel like your ceiling is this year with this squad? Do you feel like you're approaching it as well already, or like you have a long way to go? By the time spring rolls around, you guys are going to be a level above where you are now?
That's really tough, because we don't even have a main roster yet. Like, we haven't even figured out who of us is the best combination. We figured out some parts as to, well, I mean, Fancy's of course the obvious choice, but then the other 3 guys, we're all on the same level, and it's all just about finding the best fit. So we scrim with all 3 options and try to see what fits the best, and well, that's going to take a little bit to figure out. We're somewhere, but not there yet. So I think the ceiling is very, very much, well, it's very high. Yeah, I think it's higher than where we are now, but we need to figure out how to get there.
Would you say then, there's enough good players there, there's competition in the spaces, do you think that competition makes you all play harder? As if, Maybe,
yeah. I do feel like we're all very active as well. I know that we all play quite a lot of Rocket League. I think we all have good amount of hours in Pass 2. So I think we're all pretty focused on playing a lot and improving. And, well, yeah. I think it actually helps, yeah.
I mean, we spoke about hours in the past 2 with our last guest, Poddy. What do you think is the ideal hours in the past 2 for performance?
Well, for me, I don't manage to go past 70 in past 2 because just of other things in life. I don't have the time for more than that. But I do play best when I go above that 50, 60 past 2. Because it's just consistency. I don't know, it's better than just getting on randomly peaking. Doesn't work for me. So
I just like that you were talking about figuring out the squad. Sorry, KJ, because there was a literal question from Subson about this, right, KJ? I mean, Subson asked, and I don't think Local Banana was paying him to ask this, JLT, but it's to you. It's who is the best player currently on, or who has previously played for Amsterdam, and why is it Local Banana?
Yeah, well, he can prove himself again in UR Spring, because he is coming back. So if he still, what I've heard from him himself, because I'm still in contact with him a lot, he's not playing as much while he's there. He's actually there playing for a US team, but it's just very busy with the minor and everything. So I'd say he is definitely up there for contention for now, because he's proven himself more than Vency has, but he'll need to prove himself in spring then to keep that title.
You guys feel like you're going to be mentally ready to go through a whole, redeciding what the roster is when it comes back, and that is something you have to go through? Or is it kind of a case of probably it's going to be Vency and Banana, and then we'll try and figure out who the third is to go with them?
Nah, I don't think it's a guarantee either for Banana as well, because if he is low on hours, he's not playing as much, and we are all improving. I do see if we found a roster that really connects well together, that might stay the same. We're gonna have a 5 to 6 man option, and we're just gonna have to figure it out. But then we did it now. Like we're still doing it, of course, but it's going very smoothly. No hard feelings, no like issues. So I feel like if we can continue that trend, we should be fine.
And like, luckily, we know that there's never been a problem with like egos or like internal discord in a Dutch team. It's never caused breakdowns at any point. So like, I'm glad to hear that tradition is continuing. I'm not actually trying to cause issues here. It is I'm genuinely just interested because like, because Banana coming back, like it is, as you say, he has played really well for the team in the past. Like the fact that he's gone for 6 months and coming back, like you say, when the entire team is actively looking to improve and you're looking to build chemistry and you're making sure that you're one of the teams that's scrimming, it's going to be interesting. And I'm on your behalf, I'm kind of sad that that's the position the team's going to be in, but like it's a good problem to have. Is too many good players vying for positions, right?
Yeah, well, I was really worried at the start of the season when Cactus was more active, because with 6 people, it's increasingly harder because you can have 2 subs with a 3-man roster and 2 subs, but you can't have 3 subs, and that would mean you have to really ditch someone, which would feel terrible because we were already discussing like maybe we'd have to start 2 teams like Doran's did as well. Because
and you have 2 teams with no subs, like, and that's not
that
a fun spot to be in either.
As well, because we are already realizing we cannot live without a sub. So people are just too busy for that. So yeah, I'm happy for now that it's 5, not 6.
It's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem. Like,
yeah, it's definitely a problem.
I'm just like wondering that now you mentioned Doran's. This was not a question directed to you, but I feel like it fits in perfectly. It was Jordan who asked it. He's saying, do you think Doran's Boxfish is overhyped? Of course, they didn't qualify, but given that they lost in Game 5 to Evans in DSL, and they're not yet qualified to UR Winter, right? Whereas Doran's Nimmer did qualify. What's your take on the Doran situation?
Yeah, I think I might have some insider information. I don't know 100% if it's fact, so don't quote me on this too hard.
So but this is fact, yeah?
Is what I've heard is that they were very late with deciding their teams. Like, they took very long to decide, and then when they did, they just scrimmed each other for a while, the one day, and the teams were chosen based off of that. And in my opinion, that's just not the way to go about it, because now you've just got 2 teams with very good very good players, which in all their own right, they're all like almost equally good except for Ayenia, of course, who's a little bit above that. But they didn't build a main roster around him with the best chemistry, which works best together. But they just put the 2 probably high-scoring players in his team, and that doesn't guarantee they might be better. I don't know, but because I don't know J-Ron and Mark very well, but it doesn't guarantee it works well together. Because last year, Pyridar and Sane just worked really well with Ayenia. Even though on paper, probably Pyridar is worse than Mark or J-Ron. But yeah, I don't know. I think they were a bit too hasty with that one. And now they've got 2 teams that are equally as good, depending on how the chemistry goes forward.
Yeah. It's so weird they would split up Anya and Sane after a season playing together.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really surprising. But, you know, that is really that. We had a question asked to you by someone you may be familiar with, JLT. They're called Vency, and they said, question for JLT. Do you think Vency is going to show up in time for a scrim/tourney at least once this year?
Well, I'm actually... Vency, I'm very happy with how you're doing it up until this point, because he's been very active, responsive. Because I don't know, you always get a feeling beforehand with players that are, of a higher caliber, that they don't always have the time for lower caliber stuff. Not saying the Uni League is lower caliber, because right now it's really high caliber. But I don't know, he might be focusing more on RLCS or something like that. But no, he's been really active, and but I do not like the fact that his availability is bad.
If you watch back that clip, it's actually just JLT blinking no repeatedly in Morse code.
Nah, keep up the good work. But yeah, it's gonna be tough for some things. Well, you guys will see in the future as well. But for some things, it's gonna be tough.
I see. I mean, certainly with high stakes as well, right? Ultimately, I guess the goal for you personally and for the team is to make it to the CRL World Championship. I assume you got
100%.
to watch a fair bit of it last season. So, like, what would it mean to be making it, and what did you make of last season?
Well, last season's was a bit disappointing, but respect to Kiel, they actually were the team I was hyping up the most because they, well, did the best. But yeah, no, I really want to go, and the guys do too. They're very excited. Especially I know like Venti always downplays it a little bit. Oh, it's just a little bit a little bit of CRL, but I feel like Desi and Cass and me, like, we're all like very motivated. Like, okay, this is something we want to get to and do. This is like our big thing, of course. So yeah, definitely.
That's perfect. I do have one question that I was meant to ask Poddy but forgot. And it's the most important question of all, JLT. You may be ready for it. You may not be. But this is from iSerdo44. It's, what is your favorite crisp flavor? Or like chip?
KJ's favorite question.
This question is awful. Can we
No, KJ, it's a thing now. If you get to talk about UEA on every episode on your romance with the team and whether it's on again, off again, we get to ask the guests whether or not they like crisps.
Why crisps? I don't get it.
Because there's lots of flavors and we can judge their personality entirely based off what crisp flavor they choose.
You lot answer it. I'm going to go on Twitter.
You can't deal with the crisp flavor. I mean, this is an important question as far as I'm concerned, JLT. Like, I'm not saying I'm going to judge you based off this, but I actually
I will.
I'm afraid you can't till you come to the Rotterdam land, because it might be a Dutch flavor that isn't available in England.
When I was last in the Netherlands, I did eat a lot of crisps, JLT.
Oh,
so
okay. Yeah.
You know.
Have you heard of? Because this one it's kind of terrible, but it's very addicting. When you've had a chip, or crisps, I mean,
yeah,
you're like, oh, give me another one. It's called patatje joppie. And it's based off a fry sauce. I think.
I'm gonna need a spell. DM me, all right?
Yeah.
It's the yellow packet. It's the yellow packet.
Yeah.
I saw it, but I didn't try it.
Okay.
Try it.
Well, the Lace Deep Ridged one that's available, I probably only in the Netherlands, maybe Belgium. That one, it's addicting. My favorite.
Okay. You know
We're
what?
gonna have to do like a taste test of all of what the
We
guests say.
are.
At some
We
point.
are. That's good though. Like, it's nice that we can't condemn JLT already. He's done a real safe bet there by picking something we won't know, so we don't know what we can judge on.
That is the play.
That's good. I mean, have you got any questions for us, JLT? I mean, for me, I think this has been lovely to have you on. Obviously, KJ is free to come back from Twitter, given that we're no longer talking about crisps. If there's anything on your chest or shout-outs you want to give, it's been lovely to have you on. And really, Amsterdam are looking kind of exciting this year.
Well, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I wish everyone good luck. I hope all the teams keep improving, proving that EU can be better. And yeah, let's give everyone a good watch. Let's give everyone a good show.
I'm sorry. I've just thought of a question I really want to ask. How many teams out of the 16 do you think will make it for the Netherlands?
Okay, yeah. Hot take. I could see 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doran's. Do you think
Double Dorans?
Okay.
They have 2
double
logos,
Dorans.
by the way, for you guys. I saw that.
Thank God.
As well.
Thank you.
They're different colors, but yeah, same logo, different colors. And at least that's what I saw in DSL. Yeah, Dorans. I think Avants, if they get their nerves down, probably, because I feel like they're a very strong team, especially with Tom and Jorijn from last year's Tilburg, who were definitely very good. Yeah, I mean, you still have Erasmus and Twente, who are also pretty decent. So, depending on how they do under pressure, I feel like they definitely compete.
I think 6 is rich. We're gonna have to throw you off there, JLT.
I
6
said 4 or
Dutch
5.
teams.
4 or 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5.
I mean, you named
One of them is
list.
Yeah, I know, but they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're competing, but one of
Sure,
them
sure,
can
sure.
make it, or 2 of them.
I'll give you 4. I think 4 will be right, but I think Nua still believes Erasmus might make it in at the last call. So we'll have.
They're going to make it through the lower bracket of number 4. Okay.
All
right.
Thank you for joining us, JLT. We need to have a little bit of a slight argument, and of course, best of luck in the main event. Of course, that was JLT from Amsterdam Carball, the first Dutch team to qualify of 2 thus far, and it's quite fitting, I think, guys, that one of our questions as we open up the Q&A for us from the channel, of course, if you want your questions answered, feel free to ask them in chat, even right now, or and of course in the main channel in the UR server. It was, of course, from Frog Drives Car, who said, "Will Dorans only have their B team in Winter, KJ?"
I hope so. That'd be really funny. It would be good comedy. But, like, really, Dorans are very good. Their first team. They're going to make it. And, like, you know, it's going to be really nice for Netherlands to actually have a couple of teams competing now. I think for sure. The qualifier 1, they look really good. They got really unlucky. So I can't see them not making it, to be honest.
I mean, Anya
problem with getting into the back half. He does, like, and getting into qualifier 3, like, there's 50% of the qualifiers done and they're not there yet. And, like, especially, I feel like qualifier 4 usually starts to see the influx of teams who are like, oh god, we should have qualified by now. We haven't managed to sign up to the rest of them. Like, leaving it to qualifier 4 if they don't get through qualifier 3 starts to be like, yeah, that's borderline, man.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, but I'm glad we got to touch on that with JLT. The other, of course, second question regarding that JLT's kind of answered for us. Scenarius, our head of operations, was having a little bit of a heart attack over the fact that we have graphics that you will see on the main streams and they'll look lovely, but they are logo-only bracket graphics because of the Swiss stage and how much they'll be ruined by having 2 Dorans teams. But if there's 2 different Dorans logos, then we just have to learn which one's a Nimmer and which one's a Boxfish. That sounds easy enough to me.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit like a home and away kit, isn't it? It's kind of cool. It's honestly, it's such a statement from a uni to be like, we don't just have 1 logo, we have 2. And
we could afford to pay the graphic designer twice.
It's true, actually. There are not many teams who could get such a competitive B team. So again, shout out to Dorans for that if they do qualify 2 teams into main event, which I think the majority people would expect them to do. The question about expectations and worry for me is from a rather particular Genoa player. I believe it may have been Barris himself who asked this, guys, and I know we all came in at the start of the year quite hot on the Italy topic, but Genoa have had some tough times, and ultimately they've lost in the final round of both qualifiers. That's the question. Will Pesto be able to qualify, guys? Or will they keep losing in the last round of the lower bracket?
Is it like Italy are now the new Netherlands and Netherlands are like the now UK? They have got the bottle job title right now. Like, I don't know how they keep doing it because they're really good.
I don't know. For me,
country's too warm, atmosphere's too relaxed. They just can't get it done when they need to because, like, you know, I mean, it's the Mediterranean. It's too nice down there. Well, how are they going to perform under pressure when, like, you know, if they lose, they just get to go and relax beside, like, a lovely, you know, nice coastline, nice lakes.
It can't be it, Nua, because the team you don't want to talk about has the exact same problem. It's Aalborg. The Eelcastle gamers right now, the throw artists of Europe, are Aalborg and Genoa, who have had high seeds for both qualifiers. Aalborg especially. And both of them, I don't like to say it, but they've both been throwing. They're both fantastic teams, and they're not losing to their opponents. They're losing to themselves. The goals they're conceding defensively are really not great. And that's the worry for me with, you know, the expectation, particularly on Genoa, to really carry the hopes of Italy, as whilst they have lost to Sapienza Roma. Roma haven't had much luck in the qualifiers thus far. It's just scary. I was really confident Genoa would qualify, no problem, before all the qualifiers began. But now there is some doubt creeping in.
It's both countries, like both teams come from countries that don't have strong domestic competition at the moment, it feels like. I mean, saying that with the fact that, Genoa have just lost to Sapienza Roma is a little bit ironic, but, like, I think it's more just that both of them are coming from not having played that many high pressure games, right? Like, I mean, just because domestically that's not been a thing versus, the teams from the UK, even the Dutch teams who don't necessarily manage to pull it off, but the German teams especially, like, they've got good domestic competition when they need to perform in a knockout situation. Most of them have done it once or will expect to do it over the course of the year, versus teams that just haven't had to do it as much. I'm going to say it's the youth of those. I hope that the Italian teams stick around. I don't know how the back half of these qualifiers are going to go for them, but I'm just hoping that this is the start of, especially Italy, but maybe for Denmark as well, kind of teams starting to build on success.
Honestly, can we just shoehorn one of these teams into NSC or Uniliga to make them a bit more exciting? Can we just do that?
God, listen, I know it's a different esport, but League of Legends back in season 2 of that being an esport, one of the top European teams, because there was no European competition, just went to play in Korea. They were literally CLG EU in the Korean League, where they made it to a finals and came back and were the best team in Europe the next year. And it's let's just do that. Let's just send Genoa to the UK and just make them play in NSE.
It would make it more exciting for sure. Maybe people would take it seriously then.
Yeah,
it's like a reverse James Cheese move. It would kind of work. I'm looking at the teams Genoa have lost to, and really it's not so bad. In qualifier 1, they lost to Kiel and Amsterdam. It hurt because they were close, but those losses are fine. But then, of course, in qualifier 2 this past Thursday, they lost to Doran's Nimmer twice. So I think if you look at the results on paper, it's okay. It's okay for Genoa, and there shouldn't really be too much doubt creeping in. But all it takes is one throwy performance on Thursday, and suddenly they're at the last port of call on Sunday.
Honestly, I really feel like we're building up for an intense qualifier 4.
Sunday's going to be so rough, man.
Dude, what if Genoa play Aalborg?
Oh,
Dude,
no.
If that game actually happens, I'll be so happy because one of them will win. And then surely they'll be okay, the winner of that game.
Just
one of them
pray that it
has to
happens.
win.
Pray that it happens upper bracket. God, that as a lower bracket match is gonna be heartbreaking.
Oh, don't. It's okay. It's okay. We actually do have a question about the whole, sort of spread of teams in Europe, KJ. It's from Local Banana, and it's with this eruption, he uses, of competition in Europe. What do you think it's going to take for teams to set themselves apart and clinch a top 6 spot for Worlds? Which is why it's perfect for you to answer this, of course. You couldn't set yourselves apart. You didn't make Worlds last season. So what's it going to take this season on top of that?
I think it's going to take the teams with really good players to actually prioritize CRL over comp and play with that roster more than any comp roster that they do. The difference is really going to be which of the teams with just 3 good players play together the most, I think, in my opinion. If you prioritize the Uni Rocket League, I think you'll thrive in it. But if, you're messing about doing ones tournaments, I'm not pointing at anyone there. It's not going to do you, is it? It's not going to go well. Whoever tries hardest and actually prioritizes it will set themselves apart, for sure.
I do love that it's clear who you're pointing the finger at there, but also that there are probably 2 or 3 other players that finger could also be pointing at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a Kimbo right here, dual wielding. I mean, there is one more question that we have had submitted last second in the channel, Nua, and it is about Setu, Southeast Technical University. What do you make of their open qualifier performance? Sin wants to know. That's probably enough, honestly.
That's it. I'll leave it there. That's the clip. Shut it down. It's slightly disappointing, but I do think that kind of for the same reason that I think the Italians and the Danes are having a little bit of a rough time on the international stage. Ireland have a similar problem where domestically we had NUIG and TUD pushing each other, but I also think that, and given that I'm the admin for the league, I'm allowed to say this, I think our format hasn't necessarily been the best. We're having problems we had Swiss last season for a little while and it was great, and we need to get it back, but unfortunately just the platforms that we're hosting things on as an overall league, including other games, make running Swiss hard at the moment, and I'm going to try and bring it back, all right? Like, we're working on it. But it does mean that we have these lengthy group stages over the course of the season where teams aren't necessarily pushed, and then playoffs roll around and teams kind of get to a finals, and we have like one series between our top teams where they're pushed. And that's not helping them at the European level, and I'm well aware of that. And we need to do better in that space. At the same time, like, we saw TUD at the end of last year do better in the last chance qualifier after they'd been playing at a European level for a little while then. So, like, with a little bit of work, this is a Set 2 squad that could do better. I'm just not convinced they'll get it in time for UR Winter. I hope they sign up for the rest of them. I haven't actually checked the sign-ups list for Qualifier 3 to see if they're there. And again, I think we've said it, like, Qualifier 4, I think, is just going to be hard to get through for everyone. But yeah, that was a lengthy response to say,
That's fine. I mean, for context, they lost 2 best-of-3s. They did get a game off a full roster UWE in a best-of-3, which I think is fine. The issue for their seeding-wise is they dropped the best-of-3 to Zurich in the upper bracket. So props to Zurich for that one, in fairness, as I think we will move on to what was quite an accurate-ish section in our first episode, in our first week. We weren't very correct last week. So if you watched last week's episode, you will know that Noah was not here, and Galgan was predicting what teams they thought were going to make it through Qualifier 2. Now, Galgan went with Dorans, the other Dorans, of course, Lisbon, Genoa, and Hanover, so kind of got 1.5 right if you count the wrong Dorans. I only got the wrong Dorans. I had Lisbon and Genoa, and I had Salford, which, as we know, they never even got their sign-up properly done, and now they're probably never going to get their sign-up done, which is really sad. KJ, you continued to believe in the UK. Roehampton and UEA, you got the wrong UK teams, but you also did get Hanover correct and Genoa wrong. So I don't know whether you want to open us up for Qualifier 3. I mean, it's worth us having a decent flick through the sign-ups first, I guess. Are you confident, or is it going to get even harder as the qualifiers go on?
Pressure's on now. Can UEA actually sign up this time? Like,
they have done. They've definitely done. I can see their sign up, and it's complete.
Thank God for that. Now you can see what happens when you take the one responsible adult out of the sign up process. But yeah, I mean, it gets easier and harder at the same time. Your top teams aren't there, but the pressure's on you. They've got 2 more chances. Like, it's now down to who's a bottle job and who isn't, it really. Because a lot of these teams have the same ability. It's just like, who's the Chad? I don't know. I'm not even going to say UEA anymore. Just happy that Exeter made it, because that was really, really funny. But, like, my predictions are always wrong, aren't they?
Who do you want to curse this week?
This week, let's curse Dorans A. Let's curse Dorans A, and they'll definitely make it. And Roehampton will definitely make it. Of course they will. They're not going to throw. It doesn't rhyme with their name. Genoa, they shouldn't throw again, really. Who do I even say for the last one? I don't...
This is really hard to call. There's a lot of good teams. Like,
it's honestly really difficult.
This is the problem that I'm having, where, like, I'm looking at the teams, and the teams that I'm like, I think they should make it, are also the teams where I'm like, I'm 80% sure we're going to see them in Qualifier 4, which means that they can't get through here in Qualifier 3. So how can I pick them to get through Qualifier 3? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Rotterdam, good team, gonna be in Qualifier 4. How can I pick them to get through in Qualifier 3? Like, same thing for Dorrance. Like, I mean, they're gonna be in Qualifier 4. Therefore, how could they win in Qualifier 3?
Yeah. If I flick through the signups chronologically for context, of course, with signups closing late tomorrow night, if you're listening to this, make sure to get your signup done, and please check that it is accepted properly. We know Start has had issues in the past. In terms of notable signups, like I say, I see Erasmus, I see full roster UWE, I see Gent as a sign-up, and maybe they play with Bilbo this time, I don't know. Aalborg, of course, signed up. Stuttgart are in the mix as well. Nottingham Trent are in it. They always made a bit of a surprise run last season. Osnabrück also signed up. Dortmund and Avans and Sapienza Roma. UEA, like I say, don't be too stressed, KJ. Their sign-up is complete. Aarhus, Dorans, Boxfish are in. VUB are in. They made, of course, a solid run in the LCQ towards the end of last season. Dusseldorf are in, if that's something to be excited about. Warwick Also, of course, Portsmouth, York, if they play, Birmingham, we don't need to worry about them. We'll get updates on them. Zurich, Bournemouth, Roehampton, Genoa, Southampton, and of course Lisbon. I think those are all the teams to take a significant note of. But that is, as I just said, that's a lot of teams.
Yeah, many of them are the same level as well. They really are. Like I was saying earlier, like honestly, it's really who has a good day and who doesn't. Out of so many of them teams, I think Erasmus and Dorans have got to make it. Those are the two that I'm saying they've got to make it. Surely Genoa as well. Really, like if they don't, it's a bit of a joke at this point. But like Erasmus and Dorans, just for the final, like this new wave of Dutch supremacy, it's got
Double
to come.
Dutch.
Exactly. That's a good one.
So Erasmus, Dorans, Roehampton, and
Genoa.
okay, you believe in Genoa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you believe in Genoa? No.
This is what I can list like 4 teams there. I could list 4 teams that should make it through again, right? Like it's the same thing. I'm like, yeah, it should be probably Aalborg, Rotterdam, I think Genoa, like 3 teams that I should make it through, right? Like that should probably be going there. Roehampton, maybe. Sapienza Roma, like outside chance, given how Genoa have been doing and given that they beat them domestically, like outside chance that we get the other Italian team through. That could be entertaining. Yeah, it's hard. Like I mean, Dortmund are in the bracket as well, and Dortmund, you know, like they're also, they've competed at this European level. Like again, as has been said, on the day, a team that could just make it. I'm going to go with final answer 100%, and we're sure Salford aren't signing up, right?
We're assuming not. No.
Yeah. I think I'm going to assume that all of the teams that should make it do it in qualifier 3, and so I'm going to go with Genoa.
You're just guessing the top 4 seeds at this point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say the top 4 seeds essentially. I'm gonna say it is like Rotterdam, it's Aalborg. I'm going to say that it is going to be Genoa making it through. And who's the other? Who's the other top?
I mean,
team?
there's one team that no one's mentioned that I think is a nail on personally.
Who are you looking at? Are you looking at Aarhus are in the bracket? Alpha AU?
What?
No, who are you?
They lost in a game 5 overtime to make it on Thursday against Hanover, the best Portuguese team in history.
Oh, yeah, it's a fair point.
Or do you think they're going to lose? You can't do Hanover like that. Did you see his stream? Yeah, the sweat was dripping off his forehead in this game 4 and 5 overtime, and he still lost.
Yeah. All right. I won't back the Portuguese. I'll give you that so that you can be right and lord it over us next week if they are right. If they make it. Exactly, yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to go for the outside chance, and I'm going to say that Sapienza Roma make it in. Complete wild card. Wild card. They beat Genoa, and they're going to make the run this time as well. In fact, we're going to get both Italian teams through qualifier 3.
Bo, you've gone double Italian.
I've gone double
KJ's
Italian.
Gone double Dutch. The only double there's been is Germany, right? When it was Hamburg and Berlin.
It might not happen, but there's so many good teams that have to be in qualifier 4 that's a power vacuum then. I mean, I know I put most of them through here.
Let me think about this. I got IUL straight on there through uppers. I'm that confident in them. They're insane.
Okay.
Lisbon can give Hamburg a run for their money on their day.
All right.
You know, that's the
they
thing.
beat Rotterdam in that upper bracket. Rotterdam dropped lowers. No. I'm saying they will beat them in the upper qualification match this time.
But then you talk like beating Rotterdam is impressive, though.
Okay, but so now I want you to tell me who Rotterdam lose to in the lower bracket qualification.
No, I think
match.
Rotterdam will make it, to be honest.
Okay.
We've all got Rotterdam, which means that we get the full-on throw.
Yeah, which means all of us are
potential.
down 1 to start with already. Sure.
I'm not backing Genoa or Aalborg. I just can't bear to be disappointed in them again.
Can't bear to be disappointed 3 times as I'm going to be.
Yeah, basically. I'm just... I know there's going to be a UK team. It just seems tradition that we're going to get one UK team for qualifier. I just
Yeah.
don't know whether it's going to be Roehampton or UWE full roster. Those are the next two, I think.
I also think I'm falling into that classic trap where I'm like, all of the UK teams are of an equal ability, essentially. So I'm just going to ignore all of them, even though you're absolutely right. Like, one of them probably should make it through. I'm just like, no. The UK teams are there, and I'm not going to consider them because any of them could probably do it.
Like, that's how it is. There absolutely has to be at least one, maybe even two, because it's not just Roehampton and UWE, but also Warwick and UEA, right? I feel like those are the four that you would expect to really be in the mix. Could I go double UK? I mean, KJ, you've gone double UK every single week, and it's gone really badly for you. I'm going to go with UWE. I'm going to go with UWE. Ah, no, they lost to Roehampton. I'm going Roehampton. All right. Sorry, UWE. Roehampton are my one UK team for the quota. I did predict them. No, I didn't predict them last week, so it's fine. It's not cursed. So my last team is I really don't know. I can't have Genoa or Aalborg. That's unlucky.
Sapienza Roma, all right.
It's not. It can't be Sapienza Roma. It can't be. Is there just surely there's a team I can go for?
This is.
Oh no.
I think Dortmund.
No.
You know what? Osnabrück.
Oh,
that's a whack.
Ooh.
I don't rate that.
I'm going with that. That is a suspect choice, but then it's not as bad as Roma, I think.
Don't know what you're talking about. I'm
I
going
have
to look like a
a
genius
solid
next
question
week.
though. Like, if UOB somehow signed up and qualified, would we give match 10 more than 5 seconds? I don't think we
Match
would.
10.
I don't actually know who that
What do
is.
you mean, who is match 10?
Is that someone we've had on the show, or?
I vaguely remember. Was he the one with the long hair last episode?
Might have been.
Yeah,
Might
that
have
sounds
been.
right to me.
Well, you've got our predictions. KJ going with Roehampton, Genoa, Dorans, and Rotterdam. That's Dorans Boxfish, of course. Nua going with Aalborg, Genoa, Rotterdam, and Sapienza Roma. Myself going with Institute University Lisbon, Rotterdam, Roehampton, and Osnabrück. So let's see how correct or wrong they are. Of course, maybe we should have predicted qualifier 4 as well, as we won't have a chance before that qualifier. The next episode will be in a week's time when we know the entire main event. I'm excited for that.
Can we all just throw like 2 extra teams onto our predictions as like wild cards for 4, and we get credit, I think, for any of the teams of the 6 who get through in qualifier 4?
That's
UEA
fair.
Yeah, which, because I think we're mostly going to add the same teams. Like, we're going to end up with Genoa and Aalborg and Rotterdam.
I am going to
on the
add
list.
Genoa
Like,
and Aalborg.
Exactly. Like, you know, that's how it's going to go. I think I have to then add probably just, 2 UK teams? Or Portugal, IUL. I'm going to go with the Portuguese team, mostly because that's also, I want to be right.
Okay. Your bonus plus 2s or qualifier 4.
And then yeah.
I mean,
I'm gonna stick Roehampton on there as well.
Okay.
Just as
okay.
like I think across 3 or 4, like Roehampton probably should.
They should, but they have looked nervy at times. What about you, KJ?
I'm gonna just make the stupid idea that Southampton are gonna make it lowers on Sunday. I would love to see
not
it.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth
not
would
the
be
Beach
more
Boys?
interesting, but
Mm.
Southampton is funnier. It's way funnier.
Okay.
Southampton is way funnier.
So
And then UEA.
and then Southampton plus UE. Okay. All right. Southampton and UEA to make it through qualifier 4. According to former UEA player KJ, is the note that we will end week 3 on. We thank you very much for tuning in to Learner Drivers episode 3. Reminder, of course, that we will be live again next Monday, right here, same time, same place on the 21st, and we will know the entire main event. And that will be exciting. We won't know seedings by that point, but we know the 16 teams. We look forward to seeing you there. Feel free to ask us, send us any ideas or ask us questions in advance. We'll see you then, and we look forward to it.